Right. Diving right in. Today, we're going to tackle something pretty intense.
Yeah.
Bitcoin.
It's
Is it digital gold? A revolution in tech?
Oh, yeah.
Or
Okay.
just another bubble ready to pop?
People are really fired up about this one, that's for sure.
We've been digging into CNBC interviews, some Forbes articles, even some YouTube videos, presentations, you name it.
Yeah, and the takes are all over the place. Like
Yeah.
some folks talking life-changing money, others straight up calling it a scam.
Seems like everybody's got an opinion about Bitcoin, but
Yeah.
nobody really knows what's going to happen.
That's it. That's it. And that's exactly what we're going to unpack today.
Exactly.
To kick things off, let's hear from someone who is definitely not on the fence about it at all.
Okay, who's that?
This is Michael Saylor,
Oh, okay.
CEO of MicroStrategy.
Yeah, yeah.
This guy, he's not just into Bitcoin. He's all in, you know?
I've heard some of his interviews. He's
drinking the Kool-Aid.
yeah, he's definitely into it.
Mainlining it, selling it by the gallon, you know?
He's practically turned MicroStrategy into like a Bitcoin spaceship or something.
Yeah.
I think in one interview he called it a Bitcoin treasury company running on a Bitcoin reactor.
Yeah, there's a lot of bold analogies in the way that he describes it. And that's kind of the point, you know? He's not just buying and holding, he's using Bitcoin to try and make money for the company.
That's interesting.
He even talks about how they're stripping volatility from bonds, you know, transferring that to their stock, giving investors like double the Bitcoin exposure.
So he's basically saying, if you want to ride the roller coaster, buy our stock.
That's pretty much it.
But is it working? Is that actually working?
Well, according to him, incredibly profitable claims that they made a $3 billion gain in just 5 days from one Bitcoin investment. And this was 2 weeks before the interview. That's what he said. He also predicts that Bitcoin's going to rise 29% every year for the next 20 years.
Wow.
Potentially reaching $13 million per coin by 2045.
If he's right,
I know.
that would make Bitcoin bigger than gold.
Yeah.
Those are some pretty bold predictions.
Yeah, bold predictions for sure.
To say the least.
It's almost like he's describing this like financial utopia where Bitcoin's just running everything, you know?
Yeah.
But let's get some perspective from the other side.
Okay.
We found this YouTube channel.
Oh, okay.
Called Everything Money.
Everything Money.
Yeah. And they take a much more skeptical view, you know?
Yeah.
Like,
what are they saying?
They basically just call Bitcoin a scam.
Wow.
Straight up.
Okay.
No intrinsic value.
Okay.
The argument is that it's only worth something if someone else is going to pay more for it tomorrow.
Yeah. Okay. So it's all speculative.
Totally.
Yeah.
They compare it to the tulip mania back in the 1600s, you know.
I've heard about that.
When people were trading tulip bulbs for like insane prices, then the bubble burst, you know.
So, of course.
Or even more recently, think about like the frenzy around cannabis stocks.
Oh, yeah.
Or some of those electric vehicle companies, you know what I mean?
I see what you're saying.
It's like people were just buying these stocks based on hype with no real understanding of what the actual business was, you know?
Yeah, it's kind of scary how much history repeats itself.
That's exactly their point.
I see that.
They're saying this is the same thing.
This is the latest version.
That's it.
Yeah.
The latest version of this speculative mania.
And when it ends,
yeah,
a lot of people are going to be left holding the bag.
That's right.
Okay, I can see their point.
They also point out this key flaw in the whole argument that Bitcoin's going to replace regular currency, you know?
Okay.
They highlight that Bitcoin is currently valued in the very currency that it's supposed to replace.
I see what you mean. Yeah.
So how can it overthrow the system if it's still dependent on it?
That's a good point.
If Bitcoin wants to be the king, it can't still be using the dollar's throne, you know?
Right.
And let's not forget about the scams, you know?
Oh, yeah.
Like the video mentions that in 2023 alone, Americans lost $5.6 billion to crypto scams.
That's a lot of money lost to fraud.
It is. Yeah.
It really makes you think twice about how risky this all is.
Yeah, raises some serious questions about, you know, how secure the whole crypto market is, how stable it is, you know.
Yeah, it's a good point. So we've got the Bitcoin evangelist on one side, a hardcore skeptic on the other.
Yeah.
But what about the political landscape?
Yeah, good point. Where do governments stand on all this Bitcoin stuff?
Right, and that's where our Forbes article comes in.
Okay.
This one's focusing on Donald Trump's stance.
Okay, this is where things get interesting. Yeah, it really does. It seems like Trump is actually pretty into Bitcoin.
Okay.
He's even proposed setting up a U.S. Bitcoin strategic reserve, you know?
Like the oil reserve.
Exactly, exactly.
Wow.
That would basically give Bitcoin like a government stamp of approval.
Yeah, that's a pretty big deal.
He doesn't stop there, though.
What else does he say?
He also predicted that Bitcoin could actually become bigger than gold,
Okay.
surpass that $16 trillion market cap.
So we've got politicians jumping on the Bitcoin bandwagon now too.
Yeah, he's not alone, you know? Republican Senator Cynthia Lummis, she's got this bill proposing that the U.S. actually buy 1 million Bitcoins over 5 years
Wow. Okay, what's the reasoning there?
to try and reduce the national debt, which is...
Wait, so they'd buy Bitcoin to pay down the debt?
Yeah.
That's pretty radical.
It is. And what's even more interesting is that Russia is apparently interested in creating a Bitcoin reserve too. Yeah, so it seems like countries are starting to see the potential in this, or at least the potential threat.
I see what you mean.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got Michael Saylor over here preaching the Bitcoin gospel,
Right.
everything, but calling it a total scam.
Yeah.
And now politicians are proposing national Bitcoin reserves.
That's right.
It's like everybody's just trying to figure out what this thing is.
Yeah.
What to do with it.
It's kind of like the Wild West out there right now with all this.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
But amidst all this chaos, there's one voice out there that stands out with a totally different take.
Who's that?
Warren Buffett.
Oh yeah, the Oracle of Omaha.
That's the one.
He's famously skeptical about Bitcoin.
Oh yeah, he has not been shy about it.
What's he been saying?
He's been very critical, calling it an explosion of gambling.
Okay.
Buffett believes it has no real value, and he compares owning a casino to gambling in it,
Yeah.
arguing that owning the casino is always the better bet.
So he's basically saying stay away from the Bitcoin casino.
Yeah, pretty much, but isn't that a little...
Yeah, isn't that a little hypocritical? Because isn't the stock market kind of a casino too?
That's an interesting point.
Yeah.
But Buffett's argument is that stocks, those represent ownership in real companies,
Okay.
that produce goods and services, whereas Bitcoin, that's just a digital asset, no underlying value there.
So it's classic speculation versus value investing.
Yeah, exactly.
But Saylor's not letting Buffett's criticism slow him down.
Yeah, at all.
He's actually gone directly to Microsoft, urging them to embrace Bitcoin.
Yeah. That's a pretty bold move,
It is.
to say the least. He's essentially telling Microsoft, one of the most successful companies in the world, that they're missing out on the next big wave in technology if they don't get on board with Bitcoin. He even claims that holding Bitcoin is better than doing stock buybacks or holding bonds.
So he's basically saying, ditch the old ways, Microsoft, join the revolution.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, like Saylor's really putting his money where his mouth is,
Yeah, he's not just talking about it.
No.
He's actually pushing big players to adopt it.
It's fascinating how passionate he is about this.
It is.
But it also begs the question, is he a visionary leading us to this new financial era, or is he just a gambler,
Betting everything on a risky asset.
Yeah, that's the question.
I guess that's what this whole deep dive is about.
It is.
Trying to figure out where Bitcoin fits into the future of finance.
That's it.
And as we go deeper into these sources, it's clear that this is more than just a financial debate.
Oh, absolutely.
It's a philosophical one too.
It is.
Like a question of what we value, how we trust, and how we even define wealth in a world that's changing so quickly.
It's true,
Yeah.
It really challenges us to rethink our assumptions about money, about technology, and about the future in general.
It's almost like we're living in a sci-fi novel, but it's actually happening.
Yeah, it is.
And the stakes are incredibly high.
They are.
We're talking about potentially reshaping the entire financial system as we know it.
And that's a big deal.
Yeah.
It really is.
Okay, so let's go back to that Everything Money video for a second.
Okay.
They raised some valid concerns about Bitcoin being a bubble,
Right.
But are they are they being a little too alarmist?
It's easy to just dismiss them as another group of naysayers, you know?
Yeah.
But I think it's important to actually listen to what they're saying.
Okay.
They're not just saying Bitcoin is bad. They're raising questions about how sustainable it is. You know,
Right.
how vulnerable it is to manipulation and its potential to be used for illegal stuff, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
They made a good point about the fact that Bitcoin is still valued in regular currencies, you know.
All right.
It's almost like a paradox.
It is, yeah. How can Bitcoin be the future of money if its value is still determined by the very system it's trying to replace?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
And they also brought up that alarming statistic about billions of dollars lost in crypto scams, you know.
Right, right. And that's hard to ignore. That
Yeah.
really highlights the dark side of this unregulated market, you know?
Yeah.
There are definitely opportunities for bad actors to take advantage of people who are new to this whole crypto thing.
Yeah, that's a good point. So it seems like there's a lot of uncertainty here
Yeah.
and risk involved with this whole thing.
There is.
But on the other hand,
Yeah.
you've got people like Michael Saylor who are betting their entire fortunes, even their companies, on Bitcoin's success.
Yeah, that's true. You know, it's classic high risk, high reward.
It is.
Saylor, he's convinced that Bitcoin is the future, and he's willing to put everything on the line to prove it.
But is he just another tech bro blinded by the hype and the greed?
I mean, that's one way to look at it, but it's worth considering that there are legitimate arguments to be made about its potential to change things, you know.
Yeah. Okay.
Like
Mark,
like democratizing finance, you know,
right.
reducing those transaction costs and providing a hedge against inflation.
Okay. So it's not just about speculation,
No,
making
well,
money.
right. There are real world problems that Bitcoin and this blockchain technology could maybe solve.
Okay. So it seems like we're kind of at a crossroads here.
Yeah.
One path leads to this decentralized future where
Right.
where individuals have more control over their finances.
Right.
The other leads to this dystopian world where Bitcoin is just another tool for the wealthy and powerful to hold on to their control. Yeah.
And right now it's impossible to say which path we're actually going to take.
It's all unfolding in real time.
It really is.
So how does somebody like Warren Buffett
Yeah.
fit into all of this?
Right. He seems to represent the old guard, you know.
Yeah.
Clinging to those traditional notions of value and investing.
He's a fascinating counterpoint to somebody like Michael Saylor.
Oh, absolutely.
Buffett. He's the master of value investing, you know.
Right.
And he's built his empire on buying undervalued assets that have strong fundamentals, you know.
Yeah.
He sees Bitcoin as a purely speculative asset,
Right.
with no real value.
No intrinsic value.
But is he just failing to see the bigger picture?
Right.
Is he stuck in the past, unable to grasp the transformative potential of this new technology?
It's possible, but it's also possible that he's just being cautious, you know?
Yeah.
Being prudent. After all, he's seen countless bubbles come and go.
Yeah, he has.
And he knows that the market can be irrational for a really long time.
Yeah, that's true.
And he's not afraid to call out what he sees as foolishness, you know?
Yeah.
Even if it's coming from tech billionaires and politicians.
That's true.
Yeah.
He's not one to follow the crowd.
Definitely not.
But regardless of whether you agree with him or not,
Right.
I think it's important to listen to his perspective.
I think so too.
He's a voice of reason,
Yeah.
and experience in a world that's increasingly driven by hype
It
and
is.
speculation.
It is. So where does all of this leave the average person, you know?
Yeah, who's just trying to figure out what Bitcoin is,
Yeah.
and if it's something they should invest in.
That's the $1,000,000 question. And honestly, there's no easy answer.
Yeah, I figured as much.
It all boils down to your risk tolerance, you know?
Yeah.
Your financial goals and how much you believe in the long-term viability of Bitcoin.
So it's like any investment.
Yeah.
You got to do your research.
Absolutely.
Understand the risks.
And make a decision that you're comfortable with.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
But But it's hard to ignore the fact that there are some pretty powerful people and institutions betting big on Bitcoin.
Yeah, that's true.
You know,
Yeah.
we talked about Trump's proposal for a Bitcoin reserve.
Right.
Other countries are exploring similar ideas,
Yeah, yeah.
Major corporations are starting to accept it as payment.
Right.
And even legendary investors like Ray Dalio have come around to the idea.
Yeah, it's definitely gaining legitimacy, you know.
And that's something to pay attention to.
It is, but it's also important to remember that this is still a pretty new,
Yeah.
untested technology.
Yeah.
There are a lot of unknowns out there, and the future is anything but certain.
So it seems like we're still in the early stages
I think so.
of this Bitcoin experiment.
Yeah.
And the outcome could have, huge implications for the future of finance, the global economy, everything.
Absolutely. This is a story that's still being written, and we're all watching it unfold,
Yeah.
with a mix of excitement, trepidation, and maybe even a little bit of awe.
Yeah, it's definitely a wild ride.
It is. And speaking of wild rides, remember that analogy from Everything Money?
Which one?
The one comparing Bitcoin to the tulip mania.
Oh, yeah. That's a vivid image.
It is. Tulips becoming so valuable that people were trading their homes for a single bulb,
Yeah, that sounds crazy.
Yeah.
But isn't that kind of what's happening with Bitcoin to some extent?
I mean, there are definitely parallels there, yeah.
People buying it at these crazy prices.
Yeah.
Hoping to get rich quick.
That's true, but there are also, key differences.
Okay, like what?
Tulips, those had no real use beyond their beauty, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Whereas Bitcoin, this has this complex underlying technology with potential uses way beyond just being a currency.
That's the blockchain, right?
That's it.
It's like a decentralized ledger that keeps track of all the Bitcoin transactions.
Exactly. And that technology, it has the potential to really shake up a whole bunch of industries,
Like what?
Like finance, supply chain management, even voting and healthcare.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So even if Bitcoin itself doesn't become the main currency of the future,
Yeah.
the technology behind it could still change the world,
That's a good point. It's like the internet in its early days.
Right.
Nobody could have predicted the full impact it would have on everything.
That's right. And even though the internet has its own, set of problems.
Of course. Yeah.
Scams, misinformation, privacy concerns.
Yeah.
It's become this essential part of our lives.
Yeah, it's hard to imagine life without it.
It is.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
No technology is perfect,
That's right.
And it's important to be aware of the downsides, the risks,
Absolutely.
as well as the benefits.
Yeah. So what are some of the potential risks that come with Bitcoin and this blockchain tech?
Yeah, we talked about scams, but are there other concerns?
One major concern is regulation.
Okay.
Right now, the crypto world is largely unregulated,
Yeah.
which can be good or bad.
Yeah, how so?
It allows for innovation, experimentation, but it also creates, opportunities for fraud and manipulation.
Governments are starting to take notice, though.
They are, yeah.
We talked about Trump's proposal for a Bitcoin reserve.
Right.
Other countries are exploring similar ideas.
They are.
It seems inevitable that governments are going to want to exert some level of control over this new technology.
Yeah.
Especially as it becomes more widely adopted.
Yeah, and the question is, will that regulation, will that stifle innovation?
Yep.
Or will it actually help to make the market more legitimate, more stable?
That's a good question.
Yeah, another concern is energy consumption.
Okay.
Bitcoin mining. That requires a massive amount of computing power.
Yeah.
Which uses a lot of energy.
Oh, correct.
It creates a big carbon footprint.
That's a valid concern, especially as we all become more aware of the need to transition to a sustainable energy future.
Absolutely, and some cryptocurrencies are looking into more energy efficient ways of mining.
Okay.
But it's definitely something to watch.
Yeah, and then there's the issue of scalability.
Right, like can Bitcoin actually handle the volume of transactions that a global currency would need to handle?
Yeah, because right now it's still relatively slow and expensive to use compared to traditional payment systems.
That's right. That's a major challenge that developers are working on, you know.
Sure.
There are different solutions being explored, like the Lightning Network.
I've heard of that.
What is?
That that aims to make Bitcoin transactions faster and cheaper.
So it sounds like there's still a lot of hurdles to overcome before Bitcoin can truly go mainstream.
Yeah, that's true.
But the potential is definitely there.
It is. It is. It's a fascinating experiment that's playing out in real time.
It is.
And the outcome is far from certain. Yeah, who knows what's going to happen?
But whether Bitcoin succeeds or fails,
Yeah.
the ideas and the innovations that it sparked, those are gonna have a lasting impact, I think.
It's forced us to rethink our assumptions about money,
Yeah.
about technology,
It has.
and about the future of finance.
It really has, and it's raised some really big questions
Yeah.
about trust, about decentralization, and the balance of power in this new digital world.
That's true.
Yeah. So even if you're not, planning to invest in Bitcoin anytime soon, I
Yeah.
think it's important to be aware of these trends,
To understand what the potential implications are for our future.
Absolutely. This is a topic that's worth exploring,
Yeah.
Even if it's just to broaden your understanding of the things that are shaping the world around us.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
Well, I think we've covered a lot of ground
I
today.
think so too.
We've heard from the Bitcoin evangelists,
Yeah.
the skeptics, the politicians, the legendary investors, and
Right.
everyone in between.
We've explored the history, the technology, the benefits, the risks
Yeah.
associated with this really revolutionary digital asset.
It's been a wild ride,
Yeah.
and I'm sure the day will continue to rage on for years to
I'm
come.
sure it will.
But for now, I think it's time to step back from the Bitcoin roller coaster for a minute and
Yeah.
and let our listeners digest everything that we've talked about.
And as always, we encourage you to do your own research, form your own opinions and approach this exciting new world with a good mix of curiosity and critical thinking.
And if you enjoyed this deep dive into the world of Bitcoin,
Yeah.
be sure to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more explorations of the world's most interesting ideas and innovations.
We'll see you next time.
See you next time.
Yeah, it really does. It challenges us to rethink what we even think about money,
Yeah.
about tech, about the future, like everything, really.
It's like we're living in a sci-fi novel, but it's actually happening.
Yeah, it is. It is. And the stakes are
Yeah.
incredibly high. Like, we're talking about potentially reshaping the entire
Yeah, that's huge.
financial system. Yeah.
Okay, so let's circle back to that everything money video for a sec.
Right.
They raised some valid concerns about Bitcoin being a bubble.
Right.
But are they being a little too alarmist?
It's easy to write them off as just another group of naysayers,
Yeah.
but I think it's important to actually hear them out.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Like they're not just saying Bitcoin's bad.
Right.
They're raising questions about how sustainable it is.
Okay, that's a good point.
Yeah.
How vulnerable it is to manipulation
Right.
and its potential to be used for illegal stuff.
Right. And they made a good point about the fact that Bitcoin is still valued in regular currencies.
It's almost like a paradox.
Yeah, it is. Like how can Bitcoin be the future of money if it's still determined by the very system it's trying to get rid of?
That's a really good point. And they brought up that alarming statistic about billions of dollars lost to crypto scams.
Oh, yeah.
That's
hard to ignore. And it really highlights the dark side of this unregulated market.
for sure.
There are definitely opportunities for bad actors to take advantage of people who are new to this whole thing.
Absolutely. So it seems like there's a lot of
There is.
uncertainty or risk involved.
There is.
But on the other hand, you've got people like Michael Saylor
Yeah.
who are betting their entire fortunes and even their companies
Yeah, it's true.
on Bitcoin's success.
High risk, high reward. Saylor, he's convinced that this is the future, and he's willing to put everything on the line to make it happen.
But is he just another tech bro blinded by the hype and the greed?
I mean, that's one way to look at it, but I think it's worth considering that there are some legitimate arguments
Okay, like what?
about its potential, to like democratize finance, reduce the transaction costs,
Uh,
and provide a hedge against inflation.
so it's not just about
No, it's not just about speculation
making money.
and making
There are real world problems that Bitcoin and this blockchain tech could potentially solve.
Absolutely, yeah.
So it's like we're at a crossroads here.
It does feel like that, yeah.
One path leads to this decentralized future
Yeah.
where individuals have more control over their money.
All right.
The other leads to a dystopia where it's just another tool for the wealthy to hold on to their power.
And right now, it's impossible to say which path we're going to end up taking.
It's all playing out in real time.
It is.
So how does someone like Warren Buffett fit into this?
Right.
He seems to represent the old guard, clinging to these traditional.
He does, yeah, traditional ideas of value investing.
He's a fascinating counterpoint to someone like Saylor.
Absolutely.
You know, Buffett's the master of value investing.
Yes, he is.
He built his empire on buying undervalued assets with strong fundamentals.
That's right.
He sees Bitcoin as a purely speculative asset with no intrinsic value.
Right, right.
But is he just failing to see the bigger picture here?
Right.
He's stuck in the past, unable to grasp this transformative potential of this technology?
It's possible, but it's also possible that he's just being, really cautious
Okay.
and prudent.
Yeah.
After all, he's seen a lot of bubbles come and go over the years.
Yeah, he has.
And he understands that the market can be irrational for a long time.
Yeah, that's true.
And he's not afraid to call out what he sees as foolishness. Yeah.
Even if it's coming from, these tech billionaires and politicians and everybody.
He's definitely not one to follow the crowd.
No, he's not.
But regardless of whether you agree with him or not,
Right?
I think it's important to hear him out.
It is.
He's a voice of reason and experience in a world that's increasingly driven by hype
He is.
and speculation.
So where does this all leave, the average person who's just trying to figure out?
Yeah, like what is Bitcoin? Should I invest in this thing?
That's the $1 million question, and there really is no easy answer.
Yeah.
It all comes down to your risk tolerance,
Okay.
your financial goals,
Yeah.
how much you believe in Bitcoin in the long run.
So it's like any investment, you got to
Yeah.
do your research,
Do your research.
understand the risks, and
Absolutely.
make a decision you're comfortable with.
Make a decision that you can live with. That makes sense. But it's hard to ignore the fact that there are some pretty powerful people and institutions
Yeah, that's true.
betting big on Bitcoin.
It is.
Governments talking about strategic reserves, major corporations accepting it as payment, and even legendary investors like Ray Dalio have come around to the idea.
It is. It's definitely gaining legitimacy.
It is.
That's for sure.
And that's something to keep an eye on.
It is, but it's also important to remember this is still a pretty new and untested technology.
It is, yeah.
There are a lot of unknowns.
Yeah. Who knows what's going to happen?
And the future is far from certain.
So it seems like we're still in the early stages.
It feels that way. Yeah.
This Bitcoin experiment.
Yeah.
And the outcome, it could have profound implications for the future of finance,
Oh, absolutely.
the global economy, like everything.
This is a story that's still being written,
It is.
and we're all kind of watching it unfold with a mix of excitement, trepidation, and maybe even a little bit of awe.
Yeah, it is. It is a wild ride.
It is. And speaking of wild rides, remember that analogy from Everything Money, comparing Bitcoin to tulip mania?
Oh yeah, yeah. That was a vivid image.
People were trading their houses for one tulip bulb. Can you imagine?
Yeah, that sounds crazy, but isn't that kind of what's happening with Bitcoin right now?
I mean, there are definitely some parallels. Yeah.
People are buying it at these astronomical prices, just hoping to strike it rich.
Yeah, that's true, but there are some key differences too.
Okay, like what?
Well, tulips, they don't really have any practical use, right? Beyond just looking pretty.
Yeah, that's fair.
Bitcoin, on the other hand, this has a complex underlying technology with potential applications way beyond just being money.
That's the blockchain, right?
That's it.
It's like a decentralized ledger that keeps track of all the Bitcoin transactions.
Exactly. And that technology, it has the potential to really disrupt a whole bunch of industries. I mean,
Oh yeah.
finance, supply chain management, even things like voting and healthcare.
Wow, okay.
So even if Bitcoin itself doesn't end up being the dominant currency of the future,
Yeah.
the technology behind it could still, revolutionize the world.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
It's almost like the internet back in the early days,
Yeah. Right.
Nobody could have predicted how much it would change our lives.
Nobody knew, and even though the internet, it has its own set of problems.
Oh, of course.
Like scams and misinformation and privacy concerns, all that stuff.
Yeah.
It's become an absolutely essential part of our lives.
Yeah. I can't imagine life without it.
It's hard to imagine, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good point. No technology is perfect.
No.
And it's important to be aware of the downsides as well as the upside, the benefits.
So what are some of the potential risks then that come with Bitcoin and blockchain?
Yeah, we talked about, the scams and stuff, but are there other concerns?
Well, one big one is regulation or the lack thereof.
Okay.
Right now, crypto is largely unregulated, which can be good and bad, I guess.
Yeah, how so?
Well, it allows for a lot of innovation and experimentation.
Okay.
But it also creates opportunities for fraud and manipulation.
Yeah, governments are starting to take notice, though.
Oh yeah, they are. Yeah.
We talked about Trump and his proposal for a Bitcoin reserve.
Right.
Other countries are exploring similar ideas.
They are.
It seems inevitable that they're going to want to try to exert some control over this.
I think so.
This new technology, especially as it becomes more widely adopted.
Yeah, and the question is, will that regulation stifle the innovation, or will it actually make the market more stable, more, legitimate?
That's a good question.
Another concern is the whole energy consumption thing.
Okay, yeah, right. Bitcoin mining uses a ton of energy.
A ton, yeah, which means a big carbon footprint.
Yeah, and that's a valid concern, especially with everything going on with, climate change and the need for sustainable energy.
Right, and some cryptocurrencies are trying to find more energy efficient ways to mine, but it's definitely something to keep an eye on.
Yeah, then there's the issue of scalability, right?
Right, like can Bitcoin actually handle the huge volume of transactions that a global currency would need to process?
Yeah, because right now it's still pretty slow.
Yeah, it is.
And expensive to use compared to regular payment systems.
That's a big challenge, and developers are definitely working on it.
Okay, so are there any potential solutions out there?
Yeah, there are things like the Lightning Network.
Oh yeah, I heard of that.
Yeah, which aims to make transactions faster and cheaper.
Okay, so it sounds like there are still a lot of challenges to overcome.
There are, yeah.
Before Bitcoin can really become, mainstream.
Yeah. I think that's fair to say.
But the potential is definitely there.
It is. It's this fascinating experiment that's playing out in real time,
It is.
And nobody really knows how it's going to end.
But whether Bitcoin succeeds or fails, I think the idea is that it sparked the innovation that's going to have a lasting impact.
It's forced us to rethink our assumptions about money, about tech, and about the future of finance.
Yeah.
It really has, and it's brought up some really important questions about trust and decentralization, the whole balance of power in a digital world.
Yeah, that's true. So even if you're not planning to invest in Bitcoin anytime soon, I still think it's important to be aware of these trends and to understand what they could mean for the future.
Yeah, it's a topic that's worth exploring, even if it's just to kind of broaden your understanding of how the world is changing.
Well, I think we've covered a lot of ground today. We've heard from the Bitcoin evangelists, the skeptics, the politicians, the legendary investors, everybody.
It's been a wild ride.
It has.
Yeah.
But for now, I think it's time to step back from the Bitcoin roller coaster for a minute and let our listeners digest everything we've talked about today.
And as always, we encourage you to do your own research, form your own opinions, and approach this exciting new world with a healthy dose of curiosity and critical thinking.
And if you enjoyed this deep dive into the world of Bitcoin, be sure to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more explorations of the world's most interesting ideas and innovations.
Thanks for joining us.
See you next time.